The incident left her feeling deeply embarrassed, occurring directly within the nation's premier military training area. Lacking any identifying marks, without a uniform, she appeared to be a cleaning lady who had mistakenly entered, someone remarked. Ava Collins, with her hair in a low ponytail, wearing canvas shoes and a wrinkled white shirt, stood alone, facing a barrage of mocking comments. 30 minutes elapsed before her husband's helicopter, belonging to the highest-ranking general in the military, landed. The strategic camp at St. Hawthorne's functioned as a fortress emphasizing discipline, with barbed wire fences enclosing a large area of muddy training grounds, advanced simulators, and barracks that were meticulously polished. This exclusive 4-week program, designed for the children of generals, senators, and chiefs of staff, served as an intensive training ground for battlefield survival, crisis management, and mental fortitude. Young military trainees, equipped with $2,000 tactical gear, practiced maneuvers while drones, transmitting live video, circled overhead, their personalized rifles displayed engraved family crests. The command center, a substantial structure of glass and concrete, overlooked the training area, displaying live tracking data on its numerous screens. Ava Collins arrived, her worn canvas sneakers sinking into the earth, her white button-up shirt showing slight wrinkles, her simple ponytail gently moving. At 28, having grown up in a tranquil Virginia town, she came with her boyfriend, a young strategic advisor, carrying a well-worn backpack containing a notebook and a water bottle. She displayed no badge, insignia, or indication of her past. The cadets' gazes scrutinized her, their whispers building like a storm. Ava's presence disrupted the camp's rigid hierarchy, and her backpack seemed disrespectful to the elite's carefully constructed environment. A cadet, Ethan Holt, rested against a Humvee, his $3,000 Oakley sunglasses reflecting the light. He muttered, loud enough to draw attention, "Look at that backpack, probably purchased during a post-COVID clearance sale." A senator's daughter, dressed in a $1,500 Under Armour kit, laughed, lightly bumping her friends. She doesn't seem to understand the distinction between a training ground and a gun barrel. Laughter spread through the mess hall, cadets quickly hiding smiles behind gloved hands. Ava remained motionless, her gray eyes unwavering, her backpack resting on her shoulder. She had come to observe, invited by her boyfriend, but the camp's rejection felt like a sharp rebuke to her reserved nature. The audience's frustration grew, their emotions tightening at the dismissive behavior of these officials, their contempt a blow against Ava's gentle demeanor. The taunts intensified, a spiteful performance led by the camp's influential members. Vanessa Pierce, the daughter of a chief of staff, stepped forward, her tactical vest spotless, her brunette braids as precise as her expression. At 24, having grown up in DC's power corridors, she had earned a reputation for defeating those unfamiliar with the environment. She looked at Ava's sneakers and expressed disdain. "She appears to be someone who has never demonstrated a competitive nature," she stated, her voice cutting. The cadets responded with laughter, the sound bouncing off the barracks. Vanessa swung her braid, the fragrance of her cedar-scented lotion filling the air, a scent Ava found overpowering. Ava's fingers tightened on her backpack, her face remaining calm, while the audience's anger escalated, their hearts pounding due to this personal attack, Vanessa's arrogance appearing as a spark in the cold atmosphere. The scorn intensified, becoming a deliberate and organized challenge to Ava's presence. A drill instructor, Margaret Klein, moved forward, her uniform sharply pressed, her face showing years of upholding regulations. At 48, raised in Texas, she took pride in preserving order. "Miss, this camp is restricted to authorized personnel only," she stated, gesturing towards the gate, her voice resolute but not unkind. The cadets responded with cheers, their tactical boots reflecting the light as they waved her away from the grounds. A general's son, dressed in a $2,000 Arc'teryx outfit, exclaimed, "She's likely someone's temporary girlfriend, just here for the food." Laughter erupted, cadets playfully bumping into each other. A squad leader whispered, "That shirt's a disgrace, and she has the nerve to stand here?" It was clear, she didn't belong in a war zone. The criticisms felt like a guillotine, each phrase a blow against Ava's silence. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts aching for Ava, enraged by this group's continued harshness. The cadets' disdain became cruel as Ava stood on the training grounds, their taunts a planned attack intended to break her resolve. A group of elite trainees in $5,000 custom tactical kits assembled near the armory, their voices a poisonous blend. One remarked, tossing a training grenade in the direction of Ava's worn sneakers, "She's a blight on this camp's prestige." Another waved a custom rifle, shouting, back to the civilian sidelines, "Sweetheart, her backpack's a joke. Did she find it in a surplus store?" The laughter from the mess hall grew loud, staff members subtly gesturing to each other, their silver pins reflecting the light. A naval officer's son yelled, "She's an insult to every drill run here." The verbal attacks felt like a relentless pressure, each word a challenge against Ava's composed stillness. Nathaniel's helicopter was miles away, but the camp's disapproval felt overwhelming. The audience's anger escalated, their hearts racing, outraged by this planned act of unkindness, their fury burning, ready to challenge the elite's pride. Vanessa Pierce acted again, her cruelty a deliberate action to hurt Ava in front of the elite. During a pause close to the mess hall, she took a water bottle, walked casually over, and poured it into Ava's sneakers, her smile malicious. "Really?" She sneered, and her group burst into laughter. The cadets cheered, their contempt a heavy and oppressive wave, their whispers circulating, "She's nothing." Ava's gray eyes became colder than steel, but her expression remained steady, a defense against the treachery. The training ground extended past the barracks, but the camp's disdain felt like an immense pressure. The audience's anger surged, their hearts aching for Ava, furious at this public humiliation exposed before the ranks. The cadets' disapproval escalated, their words sharp and cruel. A student from a wealthy family, dressed in a $4,000 Patagonia outfit, rested against a supply crate, speaking in a harsh tone. "She's insignificant, likely trying to charm her way to a medal," he remarked, indicating Ava's worn shirt. "Look at those sneakers. Did she find them at a second-hand store?" His group of friends chuckled, their personalized knives glinting. A colonel's daughter exclaimed, "She brings shame to those who recommended her." The laughter felt overwhelming, their arrogance felt like a public condemnation. Ava straightened her ponytail, her gray eyes steady, but the camp's ridicule felt like a heavy burden. The audience's resentment intensified, their hearts racing at this ongoing betrayal, their anger ablaze poised to destroy the camp's integrity. Vanessa Pierce's disapproval became more pronounced, her words a deliberate attempt to hurt Ava before the camp's leadership. Her presence was jarring, a clear affront, she stated, her tactical vest reflecting the light as she indicated Ava's wrinkled shirt. Nathaniel Cross would be disappointed to witness this, a civilian on his property. The squad responded with laughter, their custom knives making a metallic sound as they looked towards Ava's backpack. "She's a visitor, not a tactician," Vanessa remarked, her voice carrying enough to quiet surrounding comments. The cadets expressed their disapproval with cheers, a palpable wave, their comments circulating, "She's an imposter." A quiet intensity blazed in Ava's gray eyes, yet her smile remained, a defense against the pain of betrayal. The command center was visible past the barracks, but the camp's disapproval felt like an unbearable burden. The crowd's anger surged, their feelings sympathetic to Ava, incensed at this heiress's deception revealed to all. The team's involvement intensified the hurt, their actions a new betrayal. A logistics officer, Clara Voss, in a fitted uniform, moved ahead, her voice laced with scorn. "Miss, the civilian viewing area is that way," she said, gesturing toward a distant bench, her smirk reflected by nearby cadets. "We do not allow guests of that nature on the training field," she added, eliciting laughter from the onlookers. At 32 years old, raised in Maryland, Clara took pride in her role as a gatekeeper. The crowd's approval was a powerful force, their arrogance a public display. Ava held her backpack, her gray eyes unwavering, but the camp's disapproval felt like an oppressive burden. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts racing due to this blatant disrespect, their fury directed at St. Hawthorne's reputation. The camp staff's disapproval became obvious, their actions a deliberate public humiliation intended for the cadets' entertainment. A senior coordinator, Richard Hayes, approached Ava close to the training simulator, his uniform immaculate, his voice laced with condescension. "Miss, this field is reserved for qualified trainees only," he stated, ensuring the crowd could hear. Her clothing appeared unsuitable for the program. He indicated her sneakers, his smile echoed by colleagues nearby. "We generally don't permit such casual attire at St. Hawthorne," he stated, prompting amusement from the cadets and instructors. The surrounding group's agreement felt overwhelming, their perceived superiority a pointed display. Ava held her backpack, her gray eyes steady, yet the camp's disapproval felt heavy. The audience's anger surged, their hearts racing at this perceived institutional betrayal, their fury directed against St. Hawthorne's integrity. The cadets' aggression intensified, their voices a sharp and bitter chorus. A diplomat's son, outfitted in a $3,000 North Face ensemble, leaned forward, his voice loud and critical. "She's a fraud, likely infiltrated to act as a war tourist," he stated, his unit concurring, their tactical watches displaying the time. "Her commands are seen as a joke, merely a tactic to fit in," another addition and loudly proclaimed. "She's considered a con artist, the camp has been deceived." Laughter erupted, each rumor feeling like a blow aimed at Ava's heart. Staff members shared falsehoods, their accusations spreading rapidly. "She's believed to be seeking an unearned benefit." Ava touched her backpack, her expression unwavering, but the public's defamation felt like a heavy burden. The audience's anger surged, their sympathies with Ava, their outrage a powerful force against this harmful falsehood, eager for the truth to expose the elite's deception. The cadets' harshness escalated as they spread damaging rumors, their words a sharp and bitter torrent throughout the barracks. A Pentagon intern, outfitted in a $6,000 tactical kit, moved forward, his voice prominent and direct. "She's a fake, likely paid to get into this camp," he stated, his team concurring, their cufflinks glinting. "Her appearance is a deception, a tactic to disrupt the trials." Another claim added, "She's a con artist. Nathaniel has been misled." The laughter was loud, each rumor a painful blow to Ava's heart. Instructors shared false statements, their accusations spreading rapidly. "She's seeking the recognition." Ava touched her backpack, her eyes unwavering, but the crowd's defamation felt like a heavy burden. The audience's anger surged, their sympathies with Ava, their resentment a powerful force against this harmful accusation, eager for the truth to expose the elite's falsehoods. The final evaluation approached, a jungle warfare simulation intended to challenge even the most resilient. Each team of 10 had to traverse a dense forest, construct a camp, safeguard their squad, and implement a counterattack strategy. The cadets moved quickly, their radios buzzing, their maps misinterpreted, their self-importance colliding. Disorder broke out, with arguments and lost signals, leaving a team stranded on high ground. Vanessa Pierce issued commands, her braids swinging, but her squad hesitated, their perimeter vulnerable. Ava moved forward, her sneakers silent on the mud, her wrinkled shirt a noticeable difference from the camp's tactical appearance. She seized the radio, reviewed the map, and assumed command. "Team 2, flank right at 15 degrees. Establish a perimeter," she stated, her voice calm but resolute. "Team 4, withdraw from the elevated position, transition to a staggered retreat." She addressed Vanessa. "As acting leader, relinquish command. I will assume full responsibility for the mission." The cadets paused, then complied, their actions precise under her instructions. The simulation concluded exceptionally quickly, the fastest operation ever recorded at St. Hawthorne's. There were no simulated injuries, and every squad was recovered. The forest became still, the audience's emotions moved, their frustration changing to eagerness, Ava's restrained power a glimmer in the cold. The training field reflected a scene of shocked expressions. The cadets' tactical gear appeared muted compared to Ava's simple shirt. A lead instructor, Colonel Raymond Holt, advanced, his beret shadowing his face, his eyes displaying surprise. At 55, a veteran of 3 wars, he indicated the command center screens. "That was the most precise operation I've witnessed in decades," he remarked, his voice wavering. "Who is she?" The cadets gathered within the debriefing tent, their custom knives catching the light. "Where did she acquire that command style? Why was she dressed that way? Vanessa's braid appeared to droop, her self-assurance a diminishing trace. The committee chair, General Laura Tate, moved closer. Where did you acquire this expertise? Ava hesitated, her gray eyes unwavering. I served as a Special Forces major, she replied. I left after a failed mission resulted in the loss of someone dear to me. A hush fell over the camp, murmurs about her identity circulating. Ava Collins, the youngest female officer to command a tactical battalion, disappeared from official documentation following a puzzling resignation. A wave of pride and anticipation filled the onlookers as Ava's revelations altered the camp's existing power structure. A noticeable change occurred, signaled by a deep hum as a black UH-60 Blackhawk descended to the landing zone. Unexpected and without prior announcement, the cadets' faces lost color. The door slid open, and General Nathaniel Cross emerged, his four-star uniform gleaming, accompanied by 2 aides. At 42, raised in Colorado, he served as the Supreme Commander of Strategic Operations, a renowned figure in military circles. He proceeded directly to Ava, offering a precise salute. Major Collins, you haven't lost your edge, he stated, his voice steady. He then took her hand, kissed her forehead, and turned to address the camp. I am her husband, he stated, and he shared reports indicating she had been ridiculed, demeaned, and even subjected to physical mistreatment at what is presented as a prestigious training center. The barracks fell silent, camera drones suspended, instructors' expressions pale. The audience experienced a surge of emotion, their anger shifting to admiration as Nathaniel's words exposed the deception that had concealed Ava's experience. The camp remained motionless, Vanessa Pierce's tactical vest sliding from her shoulder, her braid offering no protection. Nathaniel confronted the camp director, his gray eyes unwavering. I insist on an immediate investigation, he stated. Everyone involved in mistreating her, including your daughter, will be suspended, lose student privileges, and be marked for a violation of military ethics. No one should advance by belittling others. The cadets' demeanor appeared to lessen, their faces drawn with surprise. Claravas remained still, her supervisory role an acknowledgement of failure. Nathaniel indicated Ava, his hand firm. She directed battalions in conflict areas. Your camp disappointed her, not the reverse. The crowd erupted in applause, their anger shifting to admiration as Ava's honesty started to redefine St. Hawthorne's history. Colonel Holt acknowledged, his beret pulled down in deference, the area holding still anticipating her reply. Ava advanced, her creased shirt a subtle symbol of authority, and clasped Nathaniel's hand. I did not arrive to guide, she stated, her voice gentle yet distinct. I came to observe. She hesitated, her gray eyes examining the cadets. When guidance was required, it was provided. The camp exploded with sound, instructors rising to their feet, their applause a magnificent display of admiration. Vanessa Pierce lowered her head, her vest offering no protection, and quietly apologized to Major Collins. Officials from the Pentagon came forward, presenting offers of a return to duty with unsteady hands. Ava smiled, gently squeezed Nathaniel's hand, and stated, I'm finished with conflicts. I simply came to observe the camp. The crowd erupted in cheers, their emotions heightened as her poise dismantled the established order's pride. The consequences were swift, a judgment conveyed without words. Vanessa Pierce faced an indefinite suspension, her father's position as chief of staff rendered powerless, and escorts escorted her toward the gate. Clara Voss was moved to desk duty, effectively ending her career as a gatekeeper. Ethan Holt, the cadet who had ridiculed Ava's backpack, was disqualified from final trials, extinguishing his ambitions. The Texion who had derided her sneakers was expelled, his family's connections proving ineffective. Those who had laughed faced disciplinary action, and their responsibilities lessened. The cadets who had circulated rumors concealed their timepieces, their power voided. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her canvas sneakers planted firmly, her backpack a declaration of her honesty. The audience's hearts pounded, their outrage shifting to jubilation, Ava's when shining brightly and humbling the camp's prominent figures within St. Hawthorne's respected area. Nathaniel Cross held the training grounds with his authority, his voice cutting through the noise. "You questioned Ava Collins," he stated, his gray eyes conveying restrained anger, the essence of this camp's heritage. "Your equipment, your ranks are irrelevant against her reality." He displayed a tablet, showing a list of revoked permissions. Vanessa Pierce's training was suspended, Clara Voss lost event access, and the cadets were removed from trial eligibility, all decisions made by St. Hawthorne's board. "Your identities are removed from military records," he announced, his gaze fixed on Vanessa. "You have suffered more than just lost practice exercises. You have lost your integrity." The audience's intakes of breath were a chorus of surprise, their systems collapsing under his direction. Ava stood next to him, her creased shirt illuminated, her victory confirmed by Nathaniel's powerful outcry. The audience erupted, their spirits lifted as his worldwide punishment destroyed the privileged's presumption. The downfall of the elite was a spectacle, their arrogance shattered under Nathaniel's command. Vanessa Pierce stumbled off the training field, her tactical vest a mockery, her reputation a cautionary tale among the cadets. Clara Voss's gatekeeping empire plummeted, her scorn a public wound, her escorts pushing her toward the supply exit. Ethan Holt's aspirations collapsed, his mockery exposed as lies. The Pentagon intern who'd spread rumors hid his cufflinks, his eligibility void. Those who had shown scorn were let go, their careers concluded. The diplomat's son who had laughed was ostracized, his reputation diminished. Ava remained steadfast, her sneakers a subtle symbol of triumph, her gray eyes resolute. The camp's drones recorded the elite's downfall, their empires collapsing under Ava's direction. The audience's hearts pounded, their resentment shifting to admiration, Ava's success and Nathaniel's fury, consuming the military's wealthiest within St. Hawthorne's sacred grounds. Under Nathaniel's command, the camp's established order collapsed, revealing deep-seated flaws. He addressed the camp director, his words sharp and direct. "Your training protocols are a sham," he stated, his gray eyes unwavering. "Every rule that caused my wife distress is null and void, effective immediately." With a tap of his phone, a wave of notifications flooded the staff's devices. Contracts were terminated, access was denied, and entire squads were disqualified. Texan's connections were non-existent, his influence a memory of a bygone empire. The colonel's daughter's team was removed, her career halted. The instructor who had laughed was led away, her uniform somber. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her backpack a silent declaration of her truth, her victory a shining light in the camp's fading glow. The audience's spirits rose, their anger changing into triumph. Nathaniel's fury a powerful surge that washed away St. Hawthorne's pride. The cadets' failings were confirmed as they confronted the drones, their confidence shattered by Nathaniel's orders. Sequentially, they approached the field's perimeter, their tactical gear lackluster, their voices unsteady. Ethan Holt turned towards the barracks, his Oakley sunglasses appearing insincere. "I was mistaken to ridicule Major Collins," he stated, his apology a public admission of error, his previous challenges rendered meaningless. The diplomat's offspring followed, his North Face gear worn, his reputation diminished. "I regret propagating falsehoods," he murmured, his impact gone. The colonel's daughter expressed her regret, her eligibility now non-existent. The staff who had previously mocked them stood in the rear, their uniforms removed, their careers concluded. Ava stood next to Nathaniel, her shirt a subtle declaration, her backpack representing her reality. The audience erupted, their spirits lifted as the apologies of the privileged resonated, their established structures collapsing under Ava's direction and Nathaniel's consistent strength. Ava's history remained unknown, not to the cadets, not to Vanessa, and not to the staff. At 20, she undertook training in muddy fields while studying tactics at night, her determination securing her a commission. By 24, she led a battalion in a classified operation, her bravery exceptional until a mission setback resulted in the loss of a friend's life, prompting her resignation. At 26, she encountered Nathaniel at a veterans event, her understated strength attracting him amidst a crowd of boastfulness. Their marriage, a private ceremony in a Virginia forest, was founded on love and shared experiences. Vanessa's lotion, the staff's uniforms, and the cadet's gear couldn't compare to the weight of the backpack Ava carried. Now she stood on the field, her ponytail a clear sign of her authenticity, her silence a powerful force that exposed their falsehoods. The camp fell still, but the cadet's eyes remained fixed on Ava. A junior instructor approached, his voice quiet with deference. "Major Collins, your orders," he said, his previous disdain now a mark of regret. The cadets withdrew, their impact diminished, their families working to repair relationships with St. Hawthorne. The Pentagon observed, their power wavering under Ava's dominance. She proceeded towards the command center, her gray eyes following Nathaniel's confident smile. The drones lessened their brightness, the spring light lessening, as a procession of the military's wealthiest sought her consideration, their gestures a quiet submission to the woman they had previously ridiculed. Ava chose not to resume her prior position, but agreed to serve as a guest instructor, delivering a single, exclusive class, achieving victory without fanfare. Her sneakers made a quiet sound on the lecture hall floor, and she carried a backpack over her shoulder, where she mentored a new generation to lead without ego. The camp implemented a new policy, requiring respect for all candidates, irrespective of their background. The field became quiet, the drones motionless, and the legacies of the elites settled like dust. Nathaniel moved closer to her, his gray eyes radiating warmth. "Ready to return home?" She nodded, her gray eyes following his smile. They walked away from the grounds as the spring light diminished, leaving St. Hawthorne irrevocably altered by a singular instruction. A uniform wasn't necessary for her to command attention. Someone who once led entire war zones rarely needs to raise their voice to inspire obedience. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this, and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you were Ava? She was removed from the graduation stage due to her attire, a simple white cotton dress, worn ballet flats, and a casually tied ponytail, an appearance that drew attention from those in attendance. "You are not on the speakers list. Please step down," stated the event organizer, the silence that followed as brittle as glass. No explanation was given. There was no public questioning of why Elise Carter, St. Morel's top student, was excluded from the final moment of recognition. Instead, quiet mockery rippled through the audience, unaware that daughters of janitors sometimes aspired to share a stage with those from established families. She descended, 1 foot at a time, moving past gazes filled with judgment. However, just then, the doors swung open, and her fiancé, heir to a billion-dollar empire, entered. Royal Lancaster Hall resembled a cathedral of privilege, its crystal chandeliers projecting prisms of light that shimmered across gilded walls and velvet-draped tables. The air was heavy with the fragrance of orchids and affluence, each guest a dazzling symbol of power. St. Morel Academy's graduation ceremony was far more than just an event. A coronation unfolded for the heirs of Forbes-listed dynasties. Diamond earrings shimmered on every ear, bespoke suits whispered with each movement, and the sound of champagne flutes resonated as a symbol of exclusivity. The students, adorned in silk-lined caps and gowns, were seated in rows of polished mahogany chairs, their futures seemingly predetermined and promising. A live-stream screen displayed the ceremony for those unable to purchase the $5,000 guest tickets, and among the viewers stood Maria Carter, Elise's mother, her hospital janitor scrubs concealed by a borrowed coat, her gaze fixed on her daughter's image. Elise entered, her white cotton dress a subtle rejection of the lavish surroundings. At 22, she was captivating, not with the refined appearance of her contemporaries, but with the natural beauty of someone who had rightfully earned her place. A low ponytail held back her dark hair, highlighting cheekbones and hazel eyes that conveyed warmth and determination. The gentle sound of her faded ballet flats accompanied her across the marble floor, her steps sure despite the challenge of 1,000 stairs. She was the scholarship student, raised by a single mother who cleaned hospital floors to ensure they could pay their rent. Exceptionally intelligent and persistent, she had earned a place among the best at St. Morel's, only to face criticism for the circumstance of her background. The lack of her mother in the hall felt like a hidden pain, as she was aware Maria observed from the chilly street beyond. When Elise settled into her place, the hall's prominent figures initiated a digital attack. Mobile phones illuminated, students rapidly typing, Their social media updates a public shaming. Charity case crashes, one wrote, highlighting Elisa's worn shoes. Mother posted, St. Moral's biggest mistake, allowing a cleaner's child to attend. The live stream discussion became filled with harsh comments. She's a fraud, and kick her out, appeared frequently. Sophia Lyle, a girl in a sapphire gown, stood, her voice audible to Maria outside. Reports indicated her dress was trending as the worst fashion choice of the year. The hall erupted in laughter, a cruel sound, with phones raised as if to attack Elise. She remained still, her hazel eyes focused ahead, though her fingers lightly touched her plaque, revealing a slight tremor that contradicted her composure. Maria's expression on the live stream was one of suffering, each online post feeling like an insult to her honor. The audience's anger intensified, fueled by their outrage at the mob's actions, attention poised to explode. Ethan Caldwell, a large senior and inheritor of a tech empire, rose from his seat, his substantial build looming over Elise as she remained seated. "You're occupying space you have no right to," he stated, his voice resonating throughout the diamond section. He approached, the sound of his loafers striking the marble floor, his Rolex catching the light as he gestured towards her. "That dress is disrespectful to this hall. Leave before we force you to." A hush fell over the crowd, an unspoken sense of danger palpable as phones were raised to document the scene. Ethan moved closer, his breath warm with champagne, his fingertip hovering near Elisa's face. "Your mom scrubs floors, for people like us. Know your place." A scattering of students offered encouragement, their voices keen and insistent. Elisa's hands remained clasped, her hazel eyes locked with his, unwavering despite the visible pulse in her neck. A palpable tension filled the air, her silence a delicate defense against his threat, and the audience's anger swelled, yearning for her to be saved. The hall seemed to sway as Elise took her place in the diamond section, designated for the privileged. Murmurs cut through the atmosphere. "Wait, are they renting out diamond seats by the hour now?" scoffed a boy in a tailored tuxedo, his cufflinks gleaming. A girl standing close by, her gown adorned with Swarovski crystals, bent forward. It was evident she had entered without permission. The absence of anyone accompanying her was noticeable. Her voice, measured and harsh, resonated, prompting laughter from those seated nearby. Elisa's hands remained still in her lap, her expression calm. She had endured more difficult experiences during her 4 years at St. Morel, including classmates ridiculing her thrift store clothing and professors doubting her suitability for leadership. However, today was meant to be different. It was her graduation day. Natalie Harrington, daughter of a global fashion empire, was positioned 3 rows ahead, her blonde hair falling in flawless waves, and her emerald gown a $20,000 creation. She glanced back, her blue eyes assessing Elise from head to toe, and remarked, loud enough for the entire section to hear, "St. Morel really needs to reevaluate its scholarship standards." She continued, "We can't have commoners ruining the visual harmony." Amusement spread through the section as heads turned to observe Elisa's simple dress. A young boy close by called out, asking what's next, and suggesting her mom scrub the stage. The hall was filled with murmurs, the taunting palpable and sustained by Elisa's quietness. She didn't react. Her hazel eyes remained focused on the stage, though her fingers briefly clenched, revealing a momentary strain beneath her composure. A professor, Dr. Evelyn Tate, stood from the faculty row, her silk shawl shifting as she addressed the hall with a condescending smile. "Miss Carter's attendance here was generous, but misplaced," she stated, her voice conveying insincere sympathy. "St. Morel is intended for individuals destined for leadership, not those who fulfill supporting roles," she indicated, gesturing toward Elise, her diamond ring catching the light. "Your scholastic achievements are noteworthy, but leadership demands heritage, not benevolence." The audience expressed agreement with quiet sounds and applause, their sense of privilege forming a barrier around Elise. "Perhaps a vocational school would be a more appropriate fit for you," Tate observed, her words carefully chosen to inflict pain. Elise held the plaque in her lap, her hands still, though her hazel eyes betrayed a hidden sorrow. Outside, Maria's hands tightened as the live stream broadcast Tate's dismissive remarks, her daughter's aspirations ridiculed by those who should have supported her. The audience's anger swelled, their outrage at this violation of trust by those in power a searing pain. Natalie Harrington moved closer, her emerald gown reflecting the chandelier's glow, her voice sharp and controlled. She observed her, believing she could occupy our position. She stated, her voice clear enough for the live stream to record each word. She stood, indicating Elisa's dress with a gesture, her carefully shaped nails catching the light. That garment is suited for a laundry basket, not St. Morel's stage. And those flats, she continued, I wouldn't wear them to walk my dog. The hall erupted in laughter, students applauding, their amusement a public humiliation. A student yelled, send her back to the hospital to mop floors. Natalie's smile broadened, her gaze fixed on Elise. Your mother's a cleaner, and you're just her shadow leeching off our prestige, she hissed, her words intended to inflict pain. Elisa's plaque trembled in her hands, her knuckles whitening, but her face remained composed, a barrier against the attack. The live stream outside showed Maria's face falling, the crowd's harshness a blow to her heart, and the audience grew increasingly agitated, their anger threatening to erupt. The ceremony commenced, the dean's voice resonating through the hall, commending the prospective leaders of the world. Elisa's name was announced for the valedictorian award, her flawless GPA a testament to her exceptional intellect. As she stood, the whispers intensified. She, valedictorian? Questioned a girl adorned with pearls. It must have been achieved through dishonest means. Elise proceeded to the stage, her movements deliberate, her dress reflecting the chandelier's illumination. The applause was subdued, overshadowed by expressions of disapproval. She received her plaque, her smile subtle yet firm, and returned to her seat, the feeling of their assessment feeling more significant than the award she held. A cluster of students close to Elisa's seat rose, spearheaded by Julian Pierce, a banking heir whose smirk matched the precision of his suit. Let's make her feel welcomed, he announced, throwing a discarded napkin toward her. Pick it up, cleaner's kid, others echoed, adding straws and programs, creating a mess around her. This is your level, Elise, Julian sneered, his voice audible on the live stream. Laughter erupted from the audience, with some yelling, sweep the stage next. The scattered debris created a mortifying backdrop around Elisa's chair. She remained composed, her cotton dress a symbol of resistance, though her fingers tightened around her plaque, her knuckles bone white. Maria's expression on the live stream conveyed intense distress, each object thrown a painful blow to her daughter's sense of worth. The crowd's anger escalated, their hearts racing, yearning for the mistreatment to stop, for Elise to transcend the crowd's harshness. Claire Voss, a media heiress, her diamond choker catching the light, rose to her feet, her voice cutting and dramatic. This is mortifying for everyone, she announced, speaking to the hall with regal authority. Does Elise believe she can be valedictorian in that second-hand dress? She indicated Elise, her bracelet chiming, a cruel smile playing on her lips. You're someone who received charity and got fortunate. You are not welcome on this stage. The audience exploded in uproar, students yelling, go back to the slums. And she's ruining the aesthetic. Claire lifted a hand, quieting them, her gaze fixed intensely on Elise. Your mother is insignificant, and you are even less, she stated, her words deliberate and sharp. Depart before you escalate the situation. Mobile phones illuminated the scene, capturing Elisa's composure, her cotton dress becoming a focal point of their derision. Maria gripped her phone, the live stream showing her daughter's distress. While the audience's frustration grew, their sympathy focused on Elisa's honor. When the student speeches were to be presented, Elisa's name was scheduled to begin. She had dedicated weeks to writing her speech, a recognition of strength, and a tribute to her mother's sacrifices. As she stood, her heart calm, she moved towards the stage, still holding the plaque. A coordinator, a wiry woman wearing a black blazer, blocked her way, holding a clipboard as if it were a shield. I'm sorry, you're not on the official list of speakers. Please step down, she stated, her voice cold and amplified by the microphone attached to her lapel. The hall fell silent, all eyes fixed on Elise. The coordinator's lips moved slightly, seemingly pleased by the situation. Elise hesitated, her breath momentarily suspended, but her expression remained calm. Ms. Langley, the coordinator, approached Elise, who stood motionless on the stage, her clipboard held high. "Did you hear me, Miss Carter?" she inquired, her voice laced with disapproval and amplified through the microphone. "You will not be speaking today. You are not part of this group." She then faced the audience, offering a strained smile, seemingly seeking their agreement. "We uphold certain standards at St. Morel, and this," she indicated Elise's dress, "does not meet them." The hall erupted in laughter, a sound like a tidal wave, with students clapping as if at a show. "Perhaps you could assist your mother with the cleanup," Langley remarked, her words pointed. Elise's plaque vibrated in her hands, her hazel eyes flashing with pain, but she remained silent. The live stream displayed Maria's face, tears flowing, the crowd's harshness a public dismantling of her daughter's aspirations. The viewers' anger intensified, their hearts racing, hoping Elise would withstand this final setback. A murmur arose, spreading quickly. "She's poor," a boy in the front row whispered, his voice audible to those watching the live stream. "Sad, but appropriate," a girl added, her diamond bracelet flashing as she chuckled. Natalie shifted, her expression growing more knowing, her hand lightly touching her dress, as if disregarding the unfolding situation. She had planned this, dedicating hours to influencing the event committee, making sure Elise's name was removed from the speakers. This was her last offering to the beneficiary who had the audacity to overshadow her. The hall's laughter amplified, a collective expression of derision, each syllable a missile aimed at Elise's reputation. Outside, Maria held her phone, her complexion ashen, the live stream displaying her daughter's embarrassment for all to see. Elise remained motionless, her fingers subtly shaking around the plaque. The coordinator indicated the staircase, her urgency noticeable. "Please proceed, Ms. Carter," she stated, her voice clear enough for the rear sections to hear. The hall seemed to anticipate Elise's faltering, her tears, her demonstration of inadequacy. However, Elise remained composed. She raised her head, her hazel eyes surveyed the room, and she spoke, her voice firm and unwavering, piercing the surrounding sounds like a sharp instrument. "Thank you for revealing who genuinely belongs in this place." The words were gentle, yet they held a significance that momentarily hushed the murmurs. She then turned, her footsteps silent on the marble, and started to walk away from the stage, her head held high, her dignity a protection against their harshness. As Elise began to leave the stage, Natalie stood up again, her emerald gown a beacon of spite. "This is why we don't associate with the staff," she announced, her voice sharp and clear through the hall. "Elise, you're a stain on St. The impact of Morel's legacy was palpable. A harsh judgment fell, your mother's a failure, and you're her echo, accompanied by a gesture towards the live stream screen, acknowledging Maria's viewership. "Go join her outside where you both belong." The audience responded with cheers, their applause seeming to mock Elise's distress, as phones documented her every movement. "No one wants you here," Natalie added, her smile laced with malice. Elise's flats made a soft sound on the marble floor, her plaque clutch held firmly, her hazel eyes reflecting a quiet determination. Maria's sobs resonated through the live stream, the crowd's harshness a public dismantling of her daughter's aspirations. The audience's anger boomed, their spirits saddened, hoping Elise would withstand this ultimate setback. The hall's derision intensified as she walked down the steps. "Back to the slums," cried a boy, his voice lost in the laughter. A girl threw a crumpled program at Elise's feet, saying, "Pick it up, janitors, kid." The paper slid across the floor, brushing Elise's flats, but she didn't stop. Her steps were even, her face serene, but the audience outside, Maria's audience, felt each insult as a physical blow. Maria's hands shook, tears streaked her face, but she didn't avert her gaze from the screen. Elise was her daughter, her pride, and they were dismantling her for entertainment. The hall's laughter was a storm, unrelenting, each remark a wound no one could see but everyone could feel. Natalie stood, her emerald gown shimmering, her voice ringing out. "Let's acknowledge her effort with applause," she stated, clapping deliberately and with a hint of sarcasm. The auditorium responded, the sound echoing emptily, a distorted imitation of reverence. Perhaps she could present at the community college next, Natalie remarked, her smile sharp. The laughter intensified, phones lighting up as students documented Elisa's departure, their captions already being composed. Scholarship girl falters. Elisa's form diminished against the stage's light, her cotton dress a striking difference from the radiant audience. She felt isolated and vulnerable, her opportunity taken by individuals unfamiliar with hardship. The audience's frustration was palpable, their emotions aligned with Elise, hoping she would retaliate. Suddenly, the doors opened and all movement ceased. Security cleared a path, their dark suits creating a sharp contrast to the hall's grandeur. Bright light flooded the space, highlighting a person in a gray suit and black tie. Noah Grayson, only successor to Grayson Industries, entered the room. At 24, he possessed a striking presence. Tall and lean, with dark hair swept back and eyes like carved steel, sharp enough to cut through lies. His presence was electric and commanding, the kind that silenced a room without a word. He had built Grayson Industries' renewable energy arm into a $50 billion empire, and his name was whispered in boardrooms from Tokyo to New York. But to Elise, he was simply Noah, the man who'd fallen for her mind, her heart, and her quiet strength. Noah approached Elise, his movements purposeful, his eyes fixed on her. The hall seemed to pause, the sound of laughter fading. He extended his hand, his touch gentle yet steady, halting her progress. "You're not going anywhere," he stated, his voice quiet but strong, audible throughout the hall. "This is a ceremony of honor, and you're the only one here who genuinely deserves it." Elisa's eyes relaxed, a subtle smile gracing her lips. However, she remained silent, her lack of words more impactful than any declaration. Noah's hand remained on hers, his touch conveying a promise, a protection from the atmosphere of the room. He addressed the event organizers, his steady gaze focusing on the coordinator, who visibly recoiled. "I've been the primary sponsor of St. Moral for 3 years," Noah stated, his voice calm yet resolute, each word carrying significant weight. "This hall's construction, the scholarships you receive, and the continuation of your legacy were all made possible by my family's contributions. However, I am formally withdrawing all future funding unless Elise Carter is invited back onto that stage. Immediately." The event coordinator's clipboard visibly shook, and her complexion drained. The dean, positioned at the front, rose to speak, but Noah's intense look stopped him. The hall felt like a silent chamber, with every attendee motionless, their earlier confidence dissipating under Noah's control. Noah's gaze moved to Natalie, who appeared stiff, her smile vanished, her hands tightly holding her dress. "Natalie Harrington," he stated, his voice sharp and clear, "you sent me 27 messages over the last 4 months, requesting a meeting, a partnership, an opportunity to be at my family's table. Don't believe I was unaware that you altered the speaker list today." A sudden commotion filled the room, eliciting gasps and murmurs as heads turned to Natalie. Her face was flushed, and her eyes moved quickly, desperately seeking an escape route. "You believed you could remove Elisa's name," Noah stated, his voice cold, "but you have only damaged your own reputation." Natalie's chair scraped against the floor as she rose, her voice shaking. "That is not accurate," she insisted, but the attention of the hall was now focused on her, scrutinizing, disapproving. The coordinator spoke quietly to the dean, who responded with a somber nod. Security advanced towards Natalie, their footsteps echoing on the marble. "Ms. Harrington, you're needed at the disciplinary board," one stated, his voice resolute. Natalie's gown snagged on her chair as she lost her balance, her heels striking the floor in a defeated rhythm. The hall remained silent as she was led away, her sphere of power diminishing with each step. Noah's voice resonated, a commanding presence that quelled the hall's whispers. He stated that this wasn't solely Natalie's responsibility, his gaze sharp as he surveyed the audience, identifying those involved. "I possess evidence, emails, texts, and witness testimonies, demonstrating a planned effort to remove Elise from the speaker list." He retrieved a tablet from his suit, its screen illuminating with information. Claire Voss, you provided a bribe of $50,000 to the event committee to modify the list. Ethan Caldwell, you disseminated rumors regarding Elisa's alleged academic dishonesty to damage her GPA reputation. Ms. Langley, it is known that you enforced the altered list for a promotion. A collective gasp rippled through the room, with heads turning towards the accused, their faces visibly paling. Grayson Industries is initiating an investigation, and individuals implicated will confront legal repercussions, Noah announced. Elisa's reputation is paramount. The hall's silence was palpable, those found wanting visibly retracting under his scrutiny, and the audience erupted in applause, their spirits lifting as justice prevailed. Dean Dr. Harold Vance approached the podium, his face pale, his voice wavering under Noah's intense look. St. Morel has let down its most promising student, he announced, his words transmitted to the live stream. Elise Carter's exclusion was a planned action, and we acknowledge complete responsibility. He addressed the faculty, specifically mentioning Dr. Tate. Your comments were inappropriate, and you are suspended while a review takes place. He then spoke to the students, his voice resolute. An investigation into harassment is underway concerning Julian Pierce and Sophia Lyle. Expulsion is a possible consequence. A collective gasp rippled through the room as the accused visibly recoiled, their confidence diminishing. Ms. Langley, your involvement in this sabotage concludes your time here, Vance announced. The silence in the hall felt like a judgment, while the live stream audience expressed their approval as events transpired. Elise remained composed, her cotton dress appearing radiant, embodying a sense of grace. A wave of emotion swept through the audience, the hall's appearance a clear sign of her victory. An outside live stream showed her leaving, the audience applauding Elisa's validation. Elise returned to the stage, her cotton dress shimmering beneath the chandeliers, still holding her plaque. The hall was quiet now, everyone's heads lowered, the previous ridicule now replaced with regret. She approached the podium, her hazel eyes scanning the room, her voice calm and resolute. This moment wasn't hers alone, she stated, her words gentle but impactful. It was for her mother, who had instructed her that diligence surpasses riches. It was for each student informed they don't belong. The applause commenced, initially subdued, then growing a wave of esteem. Elise didn't revel in it, she didn't require it. Her silence had conveyed volumes. Her dignity had prevailed. Elise approached the podium, her presence a restrained power that transformed the hall. I stand here not for myself, but for every voice silenced by wealth, she stated, her voice clear, resonating with unwavering strength. My mother taught me that honor isn't bought, it's earned. This scholarship in my name will ensure no student is judged for their background. She raised her plaque, its gold a symbol of her triumph, and faced the audience. St. Morel will change or it will fall, I choose change. The applause erupted, students and guests standing, their earlier scorn replaced by reverence. Noah's eyes shone with pride, his hand brushing hers, a silent vow. On the live stream, Maria's face glowed, the crowd chanting, Elise, Elise. The chandeliers above seemed to blaze, reflecting a legacy forged in truth. The audience's hearts thundered, Elisa's words a clarion call, her triumph a light that would burn forever. The ceremony continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Noah took a seat beside Elise, his hand brushing hers, a quiet promise of forever. The dean announced new honors. Maria Carter, Elisa's mother, received the Inspiration of the Year award, her name appearing on the live stream screen. Maria's tears shifted to a smile as the crowd outside cheered with pride. Grayson Industries announced a $10 million scholarship in Elisa's name for students demonstrating leadership potential from low-income families. The audience responded with applause, but Elisa's gaze was fixed on Noah, her heart brimming, her triumph achieved. Standing at the podium, Elise experienced a profound silence that highlighted her victory. This moment isn't solely for my benefit, she stated, her voice firm, carrying a strength that impressed those present. It's for my mother, who worked nights to provide me with an opportunity. It's for every student who has been told their aspirations are too modest. She displayed her plaque, its gold gleaming in the light, and continued, Grayson Industries' leadership in my name will create openings for others similar to me, and I'll ensure St. Morel never forgets the meaning of honor." The applause resonated, students and guests rising, their previous disapproval now replaced by wonder. Noah stood beside her, his hand on hers, his pride a silent strength. Outside, Maria's face was illuminated on the live stream, the crowd chanting Elise's name. The hall's chandeliers appeared to shine more brilliantly, mirroring a fresh legacy, one founded on truth, not wealth. The audience's hearts expanded, Elise's victory a symbol of justice destined to resonate beyond these walls. Following the ceremony's conclusion, Noah and Elise emerged, the spring air cool against their skin. He held a small velvet box, a diamond ring glittering in the sunlight. Turning to Elise Carter, he spoke, his voice gentle, intended only for her. "You're my home, my truth. Will you marry me?" Her smile was radiant, her nod immediate. The crowd outside erupted, Maria rushing to embrace them, her scrubs a badge of honor. Elise and Noah stood together, their hands entwined, their future a beacon of hope. Natalie faced a brief disciplinary hearing, resulting in expulsion for altering the honors list. Her family's reputation suffered. The live stream gained global popularity, elevating Elise and dominating social media, her narrative embodying resilience. St. Morel's reputation evolved, its influence expanding, its character transformed by a girl in a cotton dress. Elise needed no adornments. She represented hope. Like, share, and subscribe for more narratives such as this, and let us know in the comments, who would you have applauded? They requested she tackle a complex math problem, not for the solution itself, but to observe her discomfort, hesitation, and silence. Within a seminar room populated by tailored suits and PhD name tags, she arrived wearing worn canvas shoes and a creased shirt. "Did you take a wrong turn, ma'am?" Someone chuckled, "This isn't the PDA meeting." However, as her hand grasped the marker and countless eyes anticipated her failure, the whiteboard began to reveal something entirely different. The Ascension Forum at St. Lennox University stood as a cathedral of intellect, its ancient brick walls draped in ivy, its seminar halls aglow with chandeliers worth more than Manhattan penthouses. This exclusive conference, reserved for Ivy League PhDs and million-dollar AI research sponsors, featured tailored wool suits, silk ties, and name tags boasting titles like Chair of Quantum Computing. Polished oak tables held crystal water pitchers, and the air carried notes of oud and ambition. A limited number, just 300 attendees, received invitations, and their sapphire badges were verified by staff wearing velvet vests. Outside the main hall, a marble atrium provided access to a private lecture theater, with its doors designated solely for keynote speakers. Lillian Moore Bellamy entered through a less conspicuous entrance. Her jeans were worn, her simple t-shirt was tucked into a cardigan featuring worn cuffs, and her chestnut hair was pulled back with a rubber band. At 31, raised in a modest town in Vermont, she had taught herself advanced mathematics while caring for her ailing mother, and had turned down PhD offers from Harvard, MIT, and Princeton. She held a thick notebook filled with handwritten formulas. It was her only companion besides her husband, Dr. Henry Bellamy, the forum's keynote speaker. The hall's stairs felt oppressive, their whispers a gathering storm. Lillian seemed out of place within the forum, her notebook a stark contrast to the elite's carefully constructed environment. A Yale professor, wearing a $4,000 Zegna suit and displaying a sapphire badge, halted his discussion. He questioned aloud, loud enough for others to hear, if she was his bag holder. A Stanford researcher, dressed in a $3,000 Armani blazer, laughed softly, nodding to his colleague, suggesting she might be his new girlfriend, someone who hadn't attended college. A wave of laughter echoed through the seminar room, with attendees attempting to hide smiles behind their hands. Lillian remained composed, her hazel eyes focused, a notebook held close. She had come to offer encouragement to Henry, whose work she had subtly influenced. The audience's frustration grew, feeling the sharp sting of these academic authorities' dismissive behavior and their contempt for Lillian's calm demeanor. The ridicule intensified, a harsh and pointed performance led by the forum's prominent members. Becca Sloan, a third-year PhD candidate from St. Lennox, moved forward, her tailored Chanel skirt swaying, her blonde ponytail as crisp as her expression. At 26, having grown up in Boston's elite circles, she was known for her dismissive attitude towards competitors. She looked at Lillian's worn cardigan and showed disapproval. "Ma'am, this area is designated for main speakers only. Free coffee is available downstairs," she stated, her voice precise. The attendees reacted with laughter, the sound reverberating through the oak walls. Becca swung her ponytail, releasing a wave of jasmine-scented perfume, a fragrance Lillian was aware Henry found unpleasant. Lillian's grip on her notebook intensified, her expression composed, yet the audience's anger escalated, their pulses racing at this direct challenge, Becca's confidence appearing like a flame in the cold air. The disapproval intensified, a planned and focused criticism of Lillian's participation. A conference staff member, Margaret Voss, moved forward, her tailored vest neat, her face showing years of upholding established rules. At 50, raised in upstate New York, she took pride in maintaining order. She indicated the exit, her voice steady but not unkind. "Let's go, miss. You're disrupting the session." The crowd responded with cheers, their silk ties gleaming as they gestured toward the atrium. A Princeton alum, dressed in a $5,000 Brioni suit, called out, "Did you get lost? This isn't the community college." Laughter erupted, academics subtly bumping shoulders. A postdoc whispered, "She doesn't even look like a grad student." Someone added, "That notebook's probably just doodles and she dares sit here?" The insults felt like a guillotine, each word a blow against Lillian's silence. The audience's anger grew, their hearts aching for Lillian, and their frustration directed at this group's harsh treatment. The academics' disapproval became sharp as Lillian stood in the seminar room, their derision a deliberate attack intended to diminish her resolve. Near the oak tables, a group of Ivy League professors, dressed in $7,000 Seville Row suits, assembled, their voices forming a harsh blend. "She's a detriment to this forum's reputation," one remarked, gesturing with a gold fountain pen towards Lillian's worn cardigan. "Return to the library, dear," another suggested, displaying a sapphire badge and adding, "Her notebook appears as if purchased at a secondary school sale." Amusement rippled through the gathering, with staff members subtly acknowledging each other, their cufflinks sparkling. A quantum computing expert exclaimed, "She's an insult to every paper presented here." The remarks felt like a guillotine, each word a blade against Lillian's poised silence. Henry's lecture theater loomed beyond the hall, but the seminar room's disdain was a crushing weight. The audience's frustration grew, their hearts pounding, angered by this orchestrated cruelty, their ire ignited, ready to challenge the elite's arrogance. Becca Sloan delivered another sharp comment, deliberately intended to unsettle Lillian in front of the select group. "So, what understanding do you expect to gain at a forum like this?" she asked, her Chanel skirt reflecting the light as she stood at Lillian's table. "Or should we administer a freshman entrance exam to familiarize you with the subject?" She didn't pause for a response, instead heading to the whiteboard where she began writing a complex combinatorics problem, one that had previously challenged her own research group. "If I solve this before the coffee break ends, I'll publicly apologize and get your coffee for a week," she stated, her voice loud enough to silence nearby murmurs. "If not, kindly step aside and make room for real academics." The attendees cheered, their scorn a suffocating tide, their whispers buzzing, "She's a fraud." Lillian's hazel eyes burned with quiet fire, but her smile held a shield against the challenge. The audience's anger surged, their hearts aching for Lillian, outraged by this public humiliation displayed before them. The elite's contempt became intensely personal, their voices a sharp and bitter chorus. A Harvard professor, dressed in a $6,000 khitan suit, rested against the seminar table, his voice harsh and dismissive. "She's insignificant, likely here to collect Bellamy's notes," he remarked, indicating Lillian's notebook. "Notice that cardigan. Did she make it herself?" His colleagues chuckled, their sapphire badges glinting. An MIT postdoc exclaimed, "She's an embarrassment to whoever let her in." The crowd's laughter felt overwhelming, their arrogance felt like a public condemnation. Lillian tightened her rubber band, her hazel eyes steady, but the seminar room's disapproval felt like a heavy burden. The audience's frustration intensified, their hearts racing at this perceived institutional failing, their anger threatening to disrupt the forum's decorum. Becca Sloane's disapproval intensified, her words a deliberate attempt to embarrass Lillian before the seminar room's distinguished attendees. "She's not just out of place, she's a disgrace," she stated, her Chanel skirt catching the light as she indicated Lillian's canvas shoes. "Henry must be horrified to see this. Nobody in his session." Her group responded with laughter, their silk scarves waving, their eyes briefly looking at Lillian's notebook. "She's a charity case, not a scholar," Becca remarked, her voice strong enough to stop nearby whispers. The attendees responded with cheers, their scorn a heavy atmosphere, their comments a constant hum. "She's a fake." Lillian's hazel eyes held a quiet intensity, but her smile remained, a defense against the disloyalty. The lecture theater shone in the distance, yet the seminar room's disapproval felt overwhelming. The audience's anger surged, their feelings sympathetic toward Lillian. The room was filled with anger as this PhD candidate's actions were revealed. The staff's involvement only intensified the disappointment, appearing as a further breach of trust. A session coordinator, Clara Holt, wearing a tailored blazer, addressed the situation, her tone laced with disdain. "Miss, general seating is located in the atrium," she stated, gesturing towards a side door, her slight smile echoed by nearby academics. "We do not allow guests of this nature in the main hall," she continued, prompting laughter from the assembled group. At 28, having grown up in Connecticut, Clara valued her role in controlling access. The crowd's endorsement felt like an overwhelming force, their condescension a very public shaming. Lillian held her notebook, her hazel eyes focused, but the seminar room's disapproval felt oppressive. The audience's anger rose, their hearts racing at this form of institutional rejection, their resentment burning against St. Lennox's reputation. The seminar room staff's disapproval became obvious, their actions a public embarrassment seemingly intended for the academics' entertainment. A senior usher, Richard Tate, confronted Lillian close to the oak tables. His velvet vest was immaculate, and his voice conveyed condescension. "Miss, this hall is reserved for registered attendees only," he stated, ensuring the surrounding audience could hear. He indicated her jeans with a gesture, and a smirk echoed across nearby staff. "The Ascension Forum doesn't usually permit such simplicity," he noted, which prompted laughter from the academics and coordinators. The audience's affirmation felt overwhelming, their perceived superiority a stark display. Lillian held her notebook, her hazel eyes steady, but the seminar room's disapproval felt heavy. The audience's anger surged, their hearts racing at this perceived institutional slight, their indignation intense against the forum's principles. The intensity of the criticism escalated, their words a sharp and bitter barrage. A Cornell researcher, dressed in a $4,000 Canali suit, leaned forward, his voice raised and critical. "She's a fraud, likely attempting to spy on Bellamy's work," he said, his colleagues agreeing with nods, their cufflinks gleaming. "Her notebook is a mere prop, a deceptive tactic to appear inconspicuous," another added, raising his voice. "She's a deceiver, and the forum has been misled." Derisive laughter echoed, each accusation a painful blow aimed at Lillian. Rumors circulated, with accusations spreading quickly. It was said she was trying to take his research. Lillian subtly twisted a rubber band, maintaining her composure, but the public's defamation felt heavy. The audience's frustration boiled over, many sympathizing with Lillian, their anger a powerful force against these false accusations, eager for the truth to expose the elite's deceit. Lillian remained silent, her eyes dry, her arms holding the notebook, the record of her life's work, a collection of formulas that had influenced Henry's career. She moved to the whiteboard, her canvas shoes quiet on the oak floor, and took the marker. The room was still, many eyes watching to see if she would hesitate. Her lines were steady, purposeful, without tremor, no deletions, and no adjustments. Within 3 minutes, the board displayed a complex solution, a level 2 supersymmetric permutation model rendered in graceful lines. She placed the marker and returned to her seat, her hazel eyes unwavering. Becca scoffed. "That's it? Are you certain you didn't make a mistake?" The audience's emotions shifted, their frustration turning to excitement, Lillian's calm resolve a focal point. An experienced professor, Dr. Arthur Wren, stood up from the front row, his tweed jacket showing signs of age but retaining its dignified appearance. At 70, a legend in combinatorics, he moved slowly toward the board, his glasses glinting, his expression changing from composed to stunned. This is the shortest known solution to this problem, he said, his voice trembling. She employed a supersymmetric model, something the advisory board hasn't even fully proven yet. The room fell silent, crystal pictures wavering, gasps spreading through the perfumed air. Attendees rose, gathering around the board, their sapphire badges glinting. Who is she? Questions arose about her identity. What was her origin? Becca's Chanel skirt appeared to fade, her ponytail offering no defense against the reality. The audience's sense of accomplishment grew, their hearts pounding as Lillian's skill altered the seminar room's power dynamic. The atmosphere changed as the keynote session commenced, with the crowd assembling in the lecture theater. Henry Bellamy approached the stage, his gray suit well-made but not ostentatious, his arrival impactful. At 40, raised in Chicago, he had received the Fields Medal for his work on algorithmic symmetry, much of it built on Lillian's unseen contributions. He adjusted the microphone, his gray eyes meeting Lillian's in the front row. "I'd like to relinquish my speaking time to someone far more deserving," he said, his voice steady. "This is Lillian Moore Bellamy, who turned down 3 PhD offers from Harvard, MIT, and Princeton to care for her ailing mother. The individual who authored 80% of the core algorithms in my research, and the only person in this room who genuinely understands the genesis of this problem." The audience's spirits lifted, their anger shifting to admiration, as Henry's explanation clarified the deception that had restricted Lillian. The room fell silent. Becca Sloan's coffee cup slipped from her grasp, breaking on the oak floor. Henry spoke, his voice sharp in the quiet, stating, "She doesn't require formal recognition. She doesn't need awards. She possesses brilliance, a quality none of us present can assert." The attendees' cufflinks appeared to lose their luster, their expressions strained with surprise. Clara Holt remained still, her role as gatekeeper a clear admission of defeat. Henry indicated Lillian, his hand unwavering. "This forum extended an invitation to me, but it is her contributions that warrant your appreciation." The audience cheered, their fury transformed into pride as Lillian's truth began to reshape the forum's legacy. Dr. Wren nodded, his glasses glinting with respect, the room holding its breath awaiting her response. Lillian rose, her frayed cardigan a quiet crown, and took the microphone. "I didn't come to prove anything," she said, her voice soft but clear. "I came to support my husband." She paused, her hazel eyes sweeping the room, adding, "But since you asked for a solution, I have offered one." The auditorium burst into applause, the attendees rising to their feet in a wave of admiration. Becca Sloan lowered her head, her Chanel skirt offering no comfort, and quietly apologized to Mrs. Moore Bellamy. Representatives from MIT, Stanford, and Caltech moved forward, their collaborative offers presented with unsteady hands. Lillian smiled, clasped Henry's hand, and remarked, "I just came to take you home for lunch." The audience responded with a powerful cheer, witnessing her poise dismantle the elite's presumptions. The consequences were swift, a judgment communicated without words. Becca Sloan was called before the advisory board, her research funding withdrawn, and her reputation served as a warning to those present. Clara Holt was moved to administrative roles, ending her career of controlling access. The Harvard professor who had ridiculed Lillian's cardigan was barred from participating in further discussions, effectively removing his impact. The Cornell researcher's grant proposals were denied, and his defamatory statements were revealed as falsehoods. Those who had previously shown scorn were addressed with consequences, and their positions lessened. Individuals who disseminated rumors concealed their credentials, their influence negated. Lillian stood next to Henry, her canvas shoes grounded, her notebook demonstrating her integrity. The audience's emotions resonated powerfully, their frustration changing to jubilation, Lillian's success shining brightly and diminishing the standing of the forum's leaders within St. Lennox's esteemed buildings. Henry Bellamy dominated the lecture theater, his voice cutting through the chandelier-lit air like a gavel. "You dared to question Lillian Moore-Bellamy," he stated, his gray eyes radiating controlled fury, the architect of this forum's most significant insights. He raised a tablet displaying a list of consequences: Becca Sloan's research grants, Clara Holt's conference privileges, and academic advisory roles, all revoked by St. Lennox addressed the board. "Your names are erased from academic circles," he stated, his gaze fixed on Becca. "You've lost more than prestige, you've lost your futures." The crowd's gasps echoed as a wave of shock. With their empires collapsing under his direction, Lillian stood alongside him, her worn cardigan appearing bright, her victory assured by Henry's immense power. The elite's failure was a striking display, their overconfidence destroyed under Henry's direction. Becca Sloan retreated, her Chanel skirt seeming inappropriate, her standing a lesson to those present. Clara Holt's power crumbled, her disapproval a matter of public record, her attendants guiding her towards the atrium exit. The Columbia professor's funding disappeared, his defamation revealing his falsehoods. The professors who'd idly written with pens concealed their cufflinks, their positions as advisors terminated. The staff who'd previously expressed disdain were let go, their professional paths concluded. Those who had circulated rumors faced rejection, their power fading. Lillian remained composed, her canvas shoes a subtle sign of strength, her hazel eyes resolute. The audience's emotions surged, their anger shifting to admiration, Lillian's triumph and Henry's fury dominating the forum's esteemed chambers. A wave of applause filled the hall as his widespread condemnation diminished the arrogance of the world's leading figures. Lillian's history remained a mystery, unknown to the attendees, not Becca, and not the staff. At 20, she tackled differential equations while caring for her mother, her diner earnings paying for textbooks. At 25, she encountered Henry at a math symposium, her understated intelligence captivating him amidst a gathering of prominent figures. Their marriage, a secluded promise in a Vermont meadow, was founded on affection and mutual mathematical understanding. Becca's challenge, the staff's badges, the academic's attire, none compared to the significance of the notebook Lillian possessed. She now stood in the lecture theater, her rubber band a testament to her truth, her silence a furnace that burned through their lies. The forum resumed, but the attendees' eyes remained on Lillian. A Caltech dean approached, his voice low with respect. "Mrs. Moore-Bellamy, your work is extraordinary," he said, referencing his earlier scorn or regret. The academics retreated, their influence null, their aides scrambling to salvage ties with St. Lennox. The sponsors lingered, their influence wavering in Lillian's presence. She proceeded toward the atrium, her hazel eyes following Henry's pleased smile. The chandeliers softened, the autumn light lessening, leaving a procession of the world's most powerful individuals hoping for her attention, their gestures a quiet acknowledgement of the woman they had previously belittled. She was presented with a complex mathematical problem, not because a solution was required, but because they desired to observe her hesitate, falter, and become speechless. The seminar room was full of people in tailored suits and PhD name tags. She arrived wearing faded canvas shoes and a wrinkled shirt. However, when she held the marker and hundreds of eyes anticipated a misstep, the whiteboard revealed something unexpected. True brilliance doesn't require fanfare. It simply needs to be expressed, and the room responded with admiration. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this, and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you were Lillian?